Someone has not replied to your message. It has been 6 hours. You have checked the conversation 12 times. You have rewritten what you said in your head, imagined what they think, and prepared 3 explanations for a conflict that may not even exist. They are living their day. You are having an entire relationship meeting alone. So let me ask you, how much of your life is spent managing reactions that do not belong to you? That question sits at the center of the Let Them theory by Mel Robbins. Its promise is simple. When people judge, exclude, misunderstand, disappoint, or choose differently, let them. Stop wasting energy trying to control another person's thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Then bring your attention back to what you can choose. But simple ideas can become dangerous when used without judgment. Let them can create freedom. It can also become avoidance, indifference, or permission for mistreatment. So this summary will do more than repeat 2 words. We will turn the idea into a 3-step system. Release, read, respond. You release control, read what the behavior is telling you, and respond from self-respect. Think of one person whose opinion currently occupies too much space in your mind. Keep that person there. We're going to use the situation as a test. And before we move on, put 1 word in the comments: chasing, explaining, or controlling. Which one consumes most of your energy? Naming the pattern is the first act of release. 1. The exhaustion of trying to control the uncontrollable. Control doesn't always look controlling. Sometimes it looks helpful. You remind an adult repeatedly because you want them to succeed. You soften every sentence because you cannot tolerate someone being upset. You overperform at work because you want a manager to recognize your value. You explain yourself for the 5th time because you believe the perfect words will finally force understanding. The motive may be love, fear, professionalism, or peace. The pattern is the same. Your emotional state becomes dependent on another person behaving correctly. That's an exhausting contract because the other person never signed it. Consider social media. You share an idea. Most people scroll past. One person leaves a dismissive comment. Within seconds, the stranger has become the director of your nervous system. Your body tightens. You draft a reply. You imagine an audience judging the exchange. What did the stranger actually control? A few words. What did you hand over? Attention, mood, time, and perhaps the courage to speak again. The book's core insight is that much of our suffering comes not only from what people do, but from the invisible campaign to make them do something else. Ask yourself, what are you trying to force from the person you named? Agreement, apology, consistency, affection, recognition? Now ask the harder question, has your effort produced that result, or has it only made you more tired? Let them interrupts the campaign. Let them think what they think. Let them choose. Let them reveal their priorities. This does not mean their behavior is acceptable. It means reality is more useful than the fantasy of control. When you stop editing the evidence, people become easier to understand. But control can also hide in kindness. You send the reminder because you just want to help. You offer advice that was never requested. You solve a problem before the other person has the chance to struggle, then feel resentful because they depend on you. Ask yourself, if I don't intervene, what am I afraid will happen? Maybe they will fail. Maybe they will blame you. Maybe they will discover they don't need you. Maybe you will have to watch someone you love make a choice you would never make. The answer matters because helping and controlling are separated by consent. Help asks, would support be useful? Control assumes, I know what your life should look like. Try a smaller sentence. I trust you to decide, and I am available if you want my help. Notice what happens in your body when you imagine saying that. Relief? Fear? Irrelevance? Sometimes we manage other people not because they are incapable, but because our identity depends on being needed. 2. Letting go is not giving up. The phrase sounds passive. If your partner withdraws, let them. If your colleague takes credit, let them. If a friend repeatedly cancels, let them. But that interpretation misses the second half of personal power. Releasing control over them does not release responsibility for you. Imagine holding a rope in a tug-of-war. The other person pulls away. You pull harder, hoping to drag them toward communication, loyalty, or maturity. Let them is opening your hand, not because the relationship doesn't matter, but because force is not connection. Once the rope drops, you can finally see the situation. Are they overwhelmed and needing space? Are they consistently avoiding responsibility? Are your expectations unspoken? Are you tolerating a pattern because confrontation feels worse than disappointment? Letting go creates information. There's a difference between acceptance and approval. Acceptance says, "This is what is happening." Approval says, "This is okay." You can accept that someone lied and decide trust must change. You can accept that a workplace rewards constant availability and decide the culture no longer fits. You can accept that a family member disapproves and still make the decision. Think about the person you named. If you stopped trying to change them today, what truth would become impossible to avoid? Perhaps they care but lack capacity. Perhaps they enjoy your effort more than they value the relationship. Perhaps you've been asking them to meet a need you've never clearly expressed. Perhaps the answer is not separation, but a more honest conversation. Freedom begins when reality no longer needs your permission to be real. Acceptance also shortens the argument with the past. You can spend years insisting that a parent should have been different, a former partner should have apologized, or a company should have recognized what you contributed. The word should may be morally correct, it still cannot edit history. Acceptance says, "That happened, it affected me, and I will choose what happens next." This is not forgiveness on demand, it's not reconciliation without repair. It's the decision to stop making your future wait for a past event to become fair. What would move forward if the apology never came? Perhaps you grieve, perhaps you seek therapy or support. Perhaps you write what you needed to hear and give the words to yourself. Perhaps you end contact. Perhaps you rebuild slowly after genuine accountability. Letting go is not one action. Sometimes it's the repeated practice of returning your attention from the courtroom in your head to the life still in front of you. Here's the rare mind method. Release, read, respond. Step 1. Release. Name what is outside your control. Their opinion, their timing, their emotional maturity. Whether they reply, whether they choose you, whether they recognize your intentions. Say it plainly. They are allowed to make that choice. The sentence may feel unfair. It is still true. Step 2. Read. Behavior is information. Do not rush past it with excuses. Look for pattern, context, and consequence. Was this a single bad day or a repeated dynamic? Have you communicated clearly? Is the behavior inconvenient, incompatible, or unsafe? What does it cost you to continue as though nothing happened? Step 3. Respond. Choose an action that protects your values without trying to control their internal world. Ask a direct question. Set a boundary. Reduce access. Offer support once. Stop chasing. Renegotiate the arrangement. Leave when necessary. Notice the order. If you respond before releasing, your action is usually designed to force a reaction. If you release without reading, you may ignore important evidence. If you read without responding, insight becomes another form of delay. Let us test it. A friend cancels dinner for the third time. Release. You cannot make them prioritize the friendship. Read. 3 cancellations indicate either a temporary capacity problem or a mismatch in effort. Respond. I care about seeing you, but repeated last-minute cancellations are difficult for me. Reach out when you can make a plan you're able to keep. There is no threat, no chase, no secret test, just information and choice. Now apply the 3 steps to your situation. What do you release? What does the pattern tell you? What is the smallest self-respecting response? If this is helping you do more than hear another book summary, if it is helping you make a real decision, subscribe to Rare Mind Audio. Every episode turns one powerful book into a framework you can use in ordinary life. Here's a second test, this time at work. You have produced strong results, but your manager keeps overlooking you for visible assignments. Release. You cannot force them to value you correctly. Read. Have expectations been made explicit? Is there evidence you have not communicated? Is the manager unaware, biased, threatened, or simply choosing someone who fits a need you do not see? Respond. Request a direct conversation. Present results. Ask what specific evidence would qualify you for the next opportunity. Agree on a measurable timeline. Document it. If the pattern continues, build options outside that manager's permission. Let them is not sitting silently while your career shrinks. It is refusing to spend years begging one gatekeeper to become different when you could gather information and create alternatives. Now notice the emotional sequence. Release may bring sadness before relief. Reading may reveal a truth you hoped was temporary. Responding may disappoint someone. Freedom is not always the feeling of peace. Sometimes it is the feeling of grief without self-betrayal. 4. Boundaries without the performance. Many people announce boundaries as attempts to control someone else. You need to stop speaking to me that way. That's a request. A boundary describes what you will do. If the conversation becomes insulting, I will end it and we can try again later. A real boundary does not require the other person's agreement. That's precisely why it works. Suppose your manager sends messages late at night. You cannot control the message. You can clarify response expectations, turn off notifications, and answer during agreed hours unless your role genuinely requires otherwise. Suppose a relative repeatedly criticizes your life choices. You cannot force respect. You can stop defending every decision and shorten conversations that become demeaning. The anxiety often comes from believing a boundary must feel comfortable to everyone. It will not. People who benefited from your lack of limits may call your limits selfish. Let them have a reaction. But don't use that phrase as a weapon. The point is not to become cold and superior. The point is to stay grounded enough that another person's discomfort doesn't automatically become evidence you're wrong. Ask yourself, which boundary have you been explaining instead of practicing? An explanation can be offered once. After that, consistency teaches what words cannot. Boundaries also need consequences you can actually carry out. If this ever happens again, I'm gone forever, may sound powerful in the moment, but an impossible consequence weakens trust in your own word. Choose the smallest, effective boundary. If voices rise, pause the conversation. If payment is late, Stop additional work until the account is current. If plans are repeatedly canceled, stop reorganizing your day in advance. If private information is shared, reduce what you disclose. The consequence should protect you, not punish them. Then prepare for the predictable test. A person accustomed to unlimited access may act surprised when the gate finally exists. Don't interpret the test as proof the boundary failed. It might be proof the old arrangement was valuable to them. Can you tolerate someone thinking you're difficult while you practice a reasonable limit? That may be the real skill. If someone you care about keeps exhausting themselves trying to earn another person's approval, share this episode with them. Don't send it as criticism. Send it as permission to put the rope down. 5. The addiction to being understood. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from needing everyone to hold an accurate version of you. You want the former partner to understand your reasons, the colleague to know you weren't being difficult, the family to recognize that your choice is healthy, the internet to see your full context. This desire is human. Reputation affects relationships and opportunity. Misunderstanding can hurt. But universal understanding is impossible because people interpret you through their history, needs, fears, and incentives. If your piece requires correcting every inaccurate story, you'll spend your life in court, presenting evidence to juries that never agreed to be fair. Here's the distinction. Correct material misinformation where consequences are real. Clarify a work error. Defend yourself against a harmful false claim. Communicate when intimacy requires understanding. But stop litigating your identity in conversations that exist only to drain you. Use a 3-question test. Does this person have influence on something important? Is there a genuine possibility of mutual understanding? Will clarification change a decision or relationship? If the answers are no, silence might be more intelligent than another explanation. Think of the last argument you replayed. Were you trying to solve a practical problem or trying to control how you were perceived? You are allowed to be clear without becoming consumed by being believed. There's a social media version of this trap. A stranger reduces your argument to one sentence. You reply with context. They ignore it. You add evidence. The exchange grows while the possibility of understanding shrinks. Before entering, ask, is this a conversation, a performance, or a provocation? A conversation contains curiosity. A performance is aimed at an audience. A provocation rewards your reaction. Each deserves a different response. You can clarify once for the people genuinely reading. You can leave when the exchange becomes theater. Silence is not an admission of guilt. It is sometimes an attention budget. What would you create with the hours currently spent proving yourself to people who are committed to a simpler story?
Relationships, ambition, and the let me decision. The book's idea becomes more useful when it turns inward. After let them, there must be let me. Let them choose differently. Let me decide what access that choice receives. Let them doubt the project. Let me build evidence through action. Let them move at their pace. Let me stop placing my life on hold. This matters in ambition. Many goals die while waiting for social permission. You want to start a business, change careers, publish, return to school, or make art, but first you want everyone close to you to understand. They may not. Some people evaluate your new direction using the older version of you. Some fear the change because your growth alters the relationship. Some simply have different values. What would you begin if nobody's initial reaction could stop you? Let me is not impulsiveness, it is ownership. You still examine risk, responsibilities, and consequences. You just stop requiring unanimous emotional approval. In relationships, let me can also mean making a clean request instead of a silent expectation. Let me say what I need. Let me hear the answer. Let me decide using the answer rather than the hope. That is adult freedom. Fewer hidden contracts, more visible choices. Let me also restores agency after rejection. Someone does not choose you. The mind asks, how do I make them reconsider? A better question is, what does their answer allow me to stop waiting for? Rejection closes one route. It does not automatically reduce your value, and it does not describe every route. Let me redirect the application. Let me build a skill. Let me meet people who respond to what I actually offer. Let me mourn without turning the rejection into an identity. This is especially important when the goal is global and public. If you publish, lead, build, or create, disapproval is not an accident. It is part of reaching beyond the people already comfortable with you. The aim is not to become immune to feedback. It is to distinguish feedback that improves the work from reaction that merely asks the work not to exist. Whose criticism has earned influence over your next decision? What evidence did they earn it with? 7. Where let them should never be used. Now the limitations. Do not use let them to ignore abuse, coercion, harassment, discrimination, threats, stalking, financial control, or danger. Safety requires support, documentation, professional guidance, and sometimes urgent intervention, not detached observation. Do not use it to avoid accountability. If several trustworthy people describe the same harmful behavior in you, let them think what they want may be defensiveness disguised as freedom. Do not use it in responsibilities you voluntarily accepted. A parent cannot let a young child fail without age-appropriate guidance. A leader cannot ignore a struggling team and call it autonomy. A partner cannot abandon communication and label the silence a boundary. And do not confuse nervous system shutdown with peace. Sometimes "I don't care anymore" means you have stopped feeling because feeling became overwhelming. The test is simple. Does let them help you see reality and choose responsibly, or does it help you escape discomfort and responsibility? Freedom without discernment becomes neglect. 8. The 7-day release practice. For the next 7 days, notice every moment you try to control an uncontrollable reaction. Day 1. Notice the urge to over-explain. Day 2. Allow one non-essential message to remain unanswered until you can respond calmly. Day 3. Make one direct request instead of hoping someone guesses your need. Day 4. Practice one boundary without adding a long defense. Day 5. Let one minor misunderstanding exist. Day 6. Examine one repeated behavior as information, not a puzzle you must solve. Day 7. Make one let me decision that moves your life forward. At the end, ask how much energy returned when you stopped chasing control. Do not use the practice to become distant. Use it to become available for the things that are actually yours, your words, choices, standards, attention, and next step. Keep one small log during the week. Use 3 columns: trigger, control attempt, chosen response. Trigger, the message was not answered. Control attempt, checked the phone repeatedly and drafted a second explanation. Chosen response, returned to work, waited until tomorrow, then made one clear request. The log reveals your favorite form of control. Some people chase, some withdraw so the other person will panic. Some become excessively helpful. Some rehearse arguments. Some ask 5 friends to confirm that they were right. Do not shame the pattern. It probably began as protection. Thank it for trying to keep you safe, then choose a strategy that does not require another person's nervous system to obey yours. And make learning a daily habit after this episode ends. Read just 2 or 3 pages of a good book each day. That sounds small, but small daily contact with useful ideas changes what your mind notices and gives better thoughts time to take root. If reading is difficult during a busy season, listen to the full audiobook on Audible or other legal audiobook service while commuting, walking, cooking, or doing routine work. Listening in the background is not magic, and it does not replace reflection, but it can keep your mental environment more constructive. Pause afterward and write down one idea you want to practice. Return to the person you named at the beginning. You may still want their understanding. You may still hope they change. The point is not to erase love or disappointment. The point is to stop abandoning yourself while waiting for someone else to become easier to manage. Let them have their opinion. Let them make the choice. Then read what the choice reveals, and let yourself respond. The quiet hour of the idea is that other people stop affecting you. It is that their behavior stops becoming the author of your next decision. You do not need to chase every distance, repair every impression, or win every emotional appeal. Some people will misunderstand you. Some will outgrow you. Some will surprise you when given room. And some will reveal that your effort was carrying a relationship they were only visiting. Let reality speak. Then choose yourself without cruelty, clarity without performance, and peace without pretending nothing matters. This has been a Rare Mind audio summary and commentary on the Let Them theory by Mel Robbins. It is not the full book or a substitute for the original work. Read or purchase the book for Robbins' complete stories, research, and applications. One final question. What are you finally ready to stop controlling? Leave your answer in the comments. And if this episode helped you, tap like and subscribe. Your support tells us to keep creating thoughtful audio summaries that turn insight into action.